Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. Well, here they are, the Fire Package watches for 2020. This is two of them. For 2020, Casio decided to put out 4 watches as part of the Fire Package. So these 2 with multiband 6 and tough solar, and then the other 2 have some Bluetooth and some, fitness tracking features on them. I decided to get these 2 just because I already have watches that are like this, and I like them. So I thought, well, I'll just keep going there. So, like for example, well, this one here, I've got kind of the more plain Jane version of it that I've already had. And as for this one here, the analog one, yeah, I've got this one. And what do you know? I have a whole bunch of other ones that are all variations on the AWGM100. So let me quickly go through this one and tell you about all its main functions and features. It's a shock resistant, 200 meter water resistant watch. And of course, it has these little digital displays in these windows here and analog for the main timekeeping mode. This watch is officially the AWGM100SF-1H4 the ER referring to, well, this one was kind of made to be sold in Europe. So when I got it, it came in a regular Casio metal tin. It didn't come in the official Fire Package container, which is kind of a little, looks like a trunk, an old-fashioned shipping trunk. And that's what you would get if you bought it in Japan and probably pay more for it. So I'll call it Fire Package, but officially I guess this isn't a Fire Package watch because it didn't come in the Fire Package box. But what can I say? I'm not going to use the box. So while that might be a fun thing to show and put on the shelf, I really cared most about getting the watch as is. And I saved a little bit of money getting it through eBay and getting it the way I did, getting the European version. There's no difference between the watch, the Fire Package version and this European version, except that they were designated to be sold in different areas. All right, so I'm very familiar with this one. I've got several of these AWGM100 watches. Let me just quickly go through the functions and features for you. It has a solar cell built into the face of the watch, and they call that tough solar because it automatically charges the power supply inside there. With normal exposure to everyday light, it'll keep itself charged. Right there is a little meter that shows you that it's at medium charge, and that's to be expected because this was in the dark metal tin for months and months and months, I'm sure, before I got it. So therefore, the battery has gone down a bit. If I were to leave this in a well-lit window, for example, for a few hours, I'm sure that would charge right back up to high, and I'd be good to go for a long, long time and keep that topped off with just exposure to everyday lighting conditions in my everyday life. So I'm not worried about the power supply on this. It'll go for years and years and years. Also, you can see right up there on the face, it says multiband 6. So that means one of the main features of this watch is the ability to set itself. Multiband 6 means it has a receiver inside to receive time and date information from atomic clocks in different parts of the world. So it's going to be correct right down to the second, thanks to that atomic time technology that it picks up all by itself. See, multiband 6 means there's 6 transmitters that this watch could potentially receive if it's close enough to any one of them. So one of them's in China, there are 2 in Japan, there's one in the UK and one in Germany, and also one in the United States. Based on the time zone that you've set it to, it's going to try to receive from one of those 6 transmitters. If you're in a different part of the world, like the southern hemisphere, where you don't have the atomic time transmitters within range, then you can just run it like a regular quartz watch because that's what it does most of the time. So, okay, let me go through the specific modes here quickly enough. Okay, so mode number 1 is the world time mode, and here we see it's set to UTC, and it's showing me the time in UTC right now, and the local time still, of course, available right here on these analog hands. If I want to change that to a different time zone, I can press this button here marked forward, and it's as though I'm going eastward on the map, and you can see the time changes accordingly. If I get lost somewhere in the world, I can press these 2 buttons on the right side together, and if I do that at the same time, it just takes me right back to UTC by default. Another thing I can do if I press these 2 top buttons at the same time, then it will exchange the world time for the local time. So my local time was the mountain time zone or the Denver time zone. Now that has become the world time zone. And these hands will now update to show me the other time zone UTC as the official home time now on this watch, because I made that swap, and I can also swap it back by again pressing these two buttons here on top. All right, so the next mode, if I scroll through here, would be the stopwatch mode. And this is pretty similar to what you'd find on just about any other digital watch. I can start and stop the stopwatch down here. This button on the right, this button up here on the left side will be my split time button, or when the stopwatch is stopped, that's my reset button to get it back to 0. This stopwatch will go for a total of 60 minutes, and if I don't stop it, it will reset to 0, and it will keep on going. So, that's pretty standard as far as that goes. The countdown timer, you can set this to any number of minutes that you want. So let me just hold that down there. So, if I take it down, if I were to take this down to 0 minutes, then, and also, I guess I could set it to a certain number of seconds as well. So minutes and seconds, okay. If I take it down to 0, then it becomes a true 100-minute countdown timer. And so I can do that just like that, or I can again set it to any number of seconds and minutes from 1 second all the way up to 100 minutes. So yeah, again, pretty straightforward as far as countdown timers go. And then I have an alarm function here. So what I have is 5 different alarms that I can set to go every day. Pretty straightforward there. And then there's the hourly signal, and I can turn that on or off right here with this button on the left side. So, again, pretty standard stuff. And those are all the modes that you have for this watch. Now, when it's brand new, the first thing you're going to want to do is set a few things here. So right now, let me just say it's set to New York City for its home time. I'm going to leave that as is for right now, but you can set that to whatever you want. And in this case, press this button on the right, the lower button, to go eastward on the map, and you can also use the reverse button to go westward on the map to adjust that. Okay, I'll take it down to Denver, which is my actual home time zone right now. Okay, next, change modes. This is where you can see DST is flashing there. So this is where you can decide what you want to do about daylight saving time. Do you want it to change automatically for daylight saving time based on the information it's receiving from the atomic clock, or you want it to be off all the time or on all the time? Those are your options with daylight saving time. Next, under mode here, you've got a 12-hour or a 24-hour display when you see the local time digitally over here. That will also affect the world time mode if you want that in 12 or 24-hour display. It's kind of a global thing here. You can change it right here, 12 or 24 hours for this watch. Okay, next you can manually set seconds, hours, minutes. You can also manually set the year, the month, and the date. So if you're having any trouble with receiving that stuff automatically from the atomic clocks, you can manually set it there. But when the watch is able to receive the correct time from this multiband 6 source, it will overwrite your manual setting to whatever it receives. So keep that in mind. Okay, next, there it says key with a little musical note. See, every time I've been pressing the buttons to change modes and start and stop the stopwatch and those sorts of things, there's a little bit of a beep. But if I don't want it to do that, I can press this button down here and select mute. So under mute, and see it kind of highlights that right there to say it's going to mute the button. So when I change modes, it's not going to beep every time that happens. The only time it's going to beep now under mute is at the end of a countdown timer, or the hourly signal will still beep, or when the alarm goes off, any one of those 5 alarms. That's the only time it's going to make noise. The rest of the time it's going to be muted. Now if I press mode again, this is where I can select when I want the light. There's a little light down here when I want it to turn on for, this would be 1.5 seconds, or I can lengthen that to 3 seconds. I have the option there. A lot of people like to leave it at a short duration to save on battery, but since this is rechargeable, I might as well leave it on a long duration, because if the battery gets low, I'll just set this out in a well-lit area and charge it up anyway. Next, power save. This is power save on, and I can set that to power save off if I want, on or off. And what power save does is, well, when it's active, this will go into a sleep mode every night after 10 p.m. if it's dark and if you're not wearing the watch. The watch has a little sensor inside for when it moves around, so it kind of can figure out when you're wearing it. And also, of course, the solar cell tells the watch if it's in a well-lit area or if it's in the dark. So after 10 p.m., and this will be between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., if this watch is in the dark, and if it's not moving around, because you're probably not wearing it, then the LCD, these little windows here, will go blank as a way to save power. And then if that actually lasts for like 6 or 7 days, and it's still in the dark and not being used, then it will actually go into a function sleep mode as well. And the hour and minute hands will stop at 12 o'clock, and it'll just kind of pause a lot of functions until you wake it up again. So to get it out of sleep, it's really quite easy. All you have to do is press any button or move it to a well-lit area or kind of shake it around a little bit, and that will take it out of sleep mode if everything has gone blank. All right, and then that's it. That's everything it is for setting it up. You may have noticed that the hands moved out of the way when I was in setup mode. So that's kind of nice to know that I was able to see these LCD screens, but look at what happened now. My local time means that the minute hand is covering up this little window here, and I have a hard time seeing what that is. If I want the hand to stay out of the way for a while, here's a little thing you can do. The mode button there, I'm going to hold that down, and if I hold it down for just a few seconds, right there, the word hand was blinking. And so what this does is it automatically moves the hands to a place where they're going to be out of the way, and they will park there for a while. Now, if I don't press any buttons for about an hour, then these hands will automatically go back to the correct time and run normally. But if, while I've got them moved out of the way, I want to start going in here and I want to start using the stopwatch, and I don't want that either of these hands to cover up these two windows here. They're going to stay out of the way for as long as I'm fiddling with the stopwatch. And then again, if I just leave it alone and I don't do anything for an hour, they'll go back to normal. Or of course, I can also make them go back to normal simply by once again holding down the mode button for a few seconds until hand starts to blink. And there they go. And this is again going to, sometimes those hands will be covering up these little windows. But, if I don't mind that, I can just leave it this way. Just a couple other things to think about here. Multiband 6. When was the last time it was able to set itself to the right time successfully? Well, if I push this button marked forward, first let me go to the normal timekeeping mode right here. Then if I tap this button, it says get, and that's today's date, and the time is, just a little while ago. So this is when I told it to try to receive its information using multiband 6, and that was the last time it was able to successfully get that data. This will automatically try to set itself starting at midnight every night, because reception is better at night. And for a few minutes, it'll try to receive the time from the atomic time source, and if it is successful, it'll stop. If it's not successful, it will try again at 1 o'clock, and if it's not successful, it'll try again at 2 o'clock, and it'll keep going up to 6 times if it's not successful. And but again, if it is successful, it'll save power by not trying again for the next night. And this keeps it very, very accurate. And I've really been pleased with this function, multiband 6. If I wanted to, right from this mode, I can hold down the adjustment button, and things start to blink. So radio control, I can turn that off if I want to. If for some reason I don't want it to receive the atomic time information, right here is where I turn radio control off. But I'm going to leave that on for now. Press adjust, and we're back to normal here. Now, the other thing I can do, as far as if I don't want to wait till midnight, as earlier today, I had it try in the afternoon to set itself, and it was successful. So if I don't want to wait till midnight, what I do is I hold down this forward button here from the timekeeping mode. But now, keep this in mind. It will not try to receive its time from the multiband 6 source while the hands are moved to this parked position. So first, let me unpark the hands like that. And so now that I'm in regular timekeeping mode, I'm going to press and hold this button marked forward. If I hold that for just a few seconds, there it says RC for radio control. So it's going to try to receive right now. And if I wait a few seconds, it will tell me if reception is any good right now. I expect reception is not very good here in the afternoon, in the middle of the day like this, but eventually it tells me we're at level 1 for reception. Level 1 is the lowest. If this gets up to level 3, that's the best reception. And so that would usually happen at night. This would get up to level 3 reception, and it's able to set itself after just a few minutes. Oh, it's starting to inch upward, level 2, level 3. Oh, okay. With all this electronic equipment around that's running right now with my cameras and lights and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if it has trouble receiving and processing that data. But, that's what it'll look like when it's the best reception, and after a few minutes, it should be okay, especially if it's at night. So let me stop that and go back to normal. The only other thing really to show you is there's a light, and then you get the light by pushing this button here. And this is a little light down here by the 6 o'clock position that shines up onto the face of the watch. It's not a great light. It doesn't actually light up the LCD windows, so it's not wonderful. But here's another thing you can do with the light. If I press and hold this now for a few seconds, then look at that. There's a little indicator right there, LT, meaning that the automatic light has now been activated. So what happens with that is when you're holding the watch, or when you've got it on your wrist ideally, then you're going to occasionally lift it up as though you're going to look at it. So you do this kind of motion here. And so there's a little sensor inside, so when it gets to this angle, the light will come on automatically, and of course the watch knows if it's dark enough because of that solar cell. So if it's in a well-lit area and you do this, it's not going to try to activate the light. But if you're in a dark area and you do this, and you've got that automatic light active, then that light will come on automatically, and that's kind of a nice feature that you can enjoy with this watch. I should mention that when I first got this watch out of the box, it was wrong. The time was wrong by about 56 seconds. So I checked, I pressed the button here to see when was the last time it was able to set itself. And it was actually, it said December 28th. And I don't think that was just a month ago. I think that was maybe 13 months ago. So if it was off by 56 seconds after 13 months of sitting in a box unable to receive atomic time, I think that's pretty good accuracy, and it will run off its own quartz accuracy most of the time, except at midnight when it tries to set itself and tries to receive that atomic time information. So there you go, 2 watches from the Fire Package collection, even if they didn't come in official Fire Package packaging. But these are very similar to watches that I already have, so I already know my way around with these watches, and I like them all, and I'm going to enjoy having these for a long time to come. And just love the functions and features on these watches. And with that said, I hope you will join me again soon for another episode of The Good Timekeeping Show.